Okay.
What up, brothers? Welcome back to Throwing Hands. It's me, it's Breck, it's Daniel, and we're here to preview Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov. Breck, how are you doing?
Doing good, Jacob and Dan. How you guys doing?
I can't complain. Just happy to be here. Had a week off from the fights, but we're right back into it.
We're right back into it, like you said. So we're going to go over a couple fights on the prelims because we got some Throwing Hands alums on here. First up, we got Sung Woo Choi versus Yusuf Zalal. We're not going to go too in depth on these prelim cards, but Yusuf Zalal coming off a fantastic 2020, 3-1, only lost to Ilya Topuria, one of the most highly touted prospects of last year. And Sung Woo Choi, this fight was supposed to happen back in October, but things fell apart, which made Zalal fight Topuria. Breck, what are your thoughts on this one?
I haven't seen Choi fight much, but I do. Zalal fought pretty recently, right, on Fight Island.
Yeah,
and he looked
back in
pretty
October.
good. So, I mean, I think what is he like 24? So he's a good prospect. I would go with him in this matchup.
And what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as Breck. I haven't seen Choi, I should say, fight very often, but there's a reason Yusuf Zalal is as highly touted as a prospect as he is. I know it's kind of cliche to say, but having him on the podcast, being able to get his story and really hear about what motivates him. I've said this most of the times that we've previewed his fights. I'm never going to bet against this guy. Just with his mindset and the way that he approaches things, this week isn't any different.
So who do you think's going to win, Daniel?
Oh, Zalal. I should have made that more clear.
Nah, you're good, man. Zalal, same with me. All right, to another matchup, another Throwing Hands alum, Justin James. Our third interview on Throwing Hands. Great guy, had a lot of fun. Hell to edit, but totally worth it. Coming in on short notice against Devontae Smith at a catch weight. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this matchup and who you got winning?
This is an interesting one. Again, Devontae Smith, not a guy I've seen a ton, but a guy that's got a lot of talent. You're not 10-2 without a good bit of talent. He's going to have a massive reach advantage in this fight. 76-inch reach against 68 for Justin James. 2-inch height advantage, 3.5 leg reach advantage. Just by the numbers, Devontae Smith should have the advantage. But kind of similar to Yusuf Zalal, Justin James has a really strong mindset for what he does. He's an extremely determined guy, and he's had sort of I guess you could say, an unusual path into the world of MMA and up to the UFC. I would lean towards Devontae Smith in this one, I think, because he's a real up-and-comer, but I would not in any way be surprised to see Justin James pull out a win.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Daniel. And Devontae Smith's dimensions are crazy. 41-inch legs, 76-inch reach advantage. Not 8-inch reach advantage, rather. He has a lot of the tools to become a solid contender in this division. So I'll take Devontae in this one. But when we talk about Justin James, don't count him out. Breck, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know a lot of much, about these fighters, but both are coming off L's. James with 2 straight L's, but I guess I'll go with Devontae Smith in this one.
All right, to the featured prelim. Mike Rodriguez, slow Mike, but this dude has bricks in his hands. He's on I forget how long his win streak is, going up against Danilo Marquez. I got Mike and Rodriguez in this one basically because he just has a lot of momentum behind him. And that Herman loss was BS. You guys and I both know that. So
yeah,
what are your thoughts on this one, Breck?
Yeah, I agree. He definitely that last fight for Slow Mike was definitely not a loss. I don't know. I don't like the matchup for him, particularly just because of Marquez's jiu-jitsu background of the Damian Maia jiu-jitsu. And I just don't know. Like, have we seen much of Mike Rodriguez on the ground yet?
We really haven't. You make a good point.
No.
So that's worrying for me. I'll go with Marquez in this one just because, it's hard to bet against Brazilians.
What about you, Daniel?
I agree with Breck on a lot of that. I think Rodriguez's ground game is definitely a concern. But coming into this one, like you said, the last fight, just honestly a horrible decision loss there against Herman. I think we see a motivated Mike Rodriguez come into this. I think he's just going to come out trying to punch Danilo Marquez's head off. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think it means he's going to come out fired up, and he's going to come out with the mentality that he wants to be impressive in this fight. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Rodriguez.
I thought, didn't Rodriguez get subbed?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought it was. All right, to the first.
That's what I meant. I don't know what I'm lost tonight for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, you just grinded out a 1,500-word paper, so
Yeah,
I can't blame you. All right, to the first bout of the main card, Diego Ferreira versus Benil Dariush. Ferreira, he's coming into it at his old age, solid win streak going on, and Benil Dariush missed weight last time, but won by a nasty spinning elbow. Interesting matchup here. Both decent grapplers. I give the grappling advantage to Ferreira and the stand up to Dariush, but this can go anywhere. Breck, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is the Ferreira Dariush 2. They fought back in like 2015 with Dariush winning. Diego Ferreira actually his only 2 losses are to Dariush and let me see here. I think it's Poirier back in 2015. Young Dustin Poirier. So I mean, both fighters are coming off impressive win streaks. Dariush winner of last 5, and this is a really slept on lightweight matchup because I mean, who's talking about these guys in the division? Nobody.
Daniel, what are your thoughts?
I echo a lot of what Breck said there. These are 2 guys that are really talented, 2 guys that have proven track records. Like he said, Ferreira has only lost to the guy that he's going to fight, Dariush, and Dustin Poirier. That's really impressive. Meanwhile, I'm probably one of the biggest Benil Dariush fans that you're going to find. I just love the way this guy operates. I love the way that he's so collected in the octagon, but he's able to strike so quickly and he's able to cause problems so quickly for his opponents. I think these guys are extremely talented, and I think like he said, this is one that's flying under the radar, but it could be fight of the night by the end.
For sure. All right, to keys of the matchup, I think Benil Dariush, if he keeps it standing, he has the advantage over Ferreira, but Ferreira loves to put on the pressure, so that might be tough for Benil Dariush if he gets put up against the fence, and I think Ferreira has the advantage on the ground, so he might want to put it there. Daniel, what are your keys?
I agree with you for the most part there. It's going to be a mix of styles. It's going to be who's able to control pace and control where this fight stays that I think is going to be able to win it. There's not that much of a reach difference between these two. A 2-inch reach advantage for Ferreira, but leg reach wise, they're exactly the same. I think this is going to be pretty even in terms of advantages coming in. It's just going to be a matter of who can put their game plan to the best use.
And Breck, what are your keys?
Yeah, Dariush has a granite chin. I mean, in that who did he fight where the Rogan and the commentary team went crazy, where he was getting rocked and then came back and finished the guy?
Ooh, let's take a look there. Let's take a look here real quick. That was it Drakkar Close?
Yes, it was Drakkar Close. When he dropped Close and they screamed. I mean, Dariush was seriously wobbled and then just stormed at him. Like, what a chin on that guy. So I kind of, echo what Daniel said before. And it's like if Ferreira can get this to the ground and keep it mostly on the ground, he's got the advantage. And, it's going to be an awesome fight. Like, I think it's fight of the night.
All right. Predictions. I'm taking Benil Dariush by TKO. What do you got, Breck?
I'll go Dariush TKO. I think Ferreira will try to keep it to the ground, but I don't think he'll be able to keep him down there. So Dariush, hammer fists. How about that?
And what about you, Daniel?
Yeah, make it 3 for Dariush. Again, TKO. I think he's kind of the irresistible object, I guess you could say, in this division right now. I see him making some moves in 2021. For
sure. All right. To an interesting matchup. Cody Stamann coming off a loss against Jimmy Rivera, wrestler, grappler, but he's added some weight to his hands, for lack of a better term. And Askar, there's not much on this dude coming out of. I think he fought in LFA once or twice, but he likes to keep it on the ground too. So this could be an interesting grappling matchup to say the least. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Daniel?
Cody Stamann, really fun to watch. Really looking for a bounce back here too, after coming off just the 3rd loss of his career. But an extremely talented guy, an extremely intense guy. That's what kind of comes off the page when he's in there. Wrestling background, but he started boxing when he was 16. He was a college wrestler at the same Grand Valley State program that produced Tony Ferguson. But he's got a long boxing background as well. He's got a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This guy's extremely well-rounded, trains with extreme couture. He's got everything you look for in a high-level fighter. And I think that intensity is what takes the next step up for him. He's looking, like I said, to bounce back from a loss to Jimmy Rivera. And then Askar, we don't know a ton about him. Like you said, 11-1 coming out of Chicago. He is a really well-regarded prospect, and it's his UFC debut. They wouldn't be putting him up, I should say, against a guy on the level of Cody Stamann if he wasn't at least somewhat ready for this challenge. He only fought once in LFA too, so he's basically going, he fought twice in LFA, so he's basically going from mid-tier MMA to the UFC in a period of, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years at this point. So I wouldn't count him out, but I really love what Cody Stamann brings to the table. I think he's extremely talented, and it's going to be a huge test for somebody in their first fight in the UFC.
What are your thoughts, Breck?
Yeah, I just don't know how we can put a lot into Askar. It's like you guys said, he's been fighting in the G League essentially, and it's a tough opponent for his first UFC fight. And I just don't see how you can go any way but thinking, Cody's going to win this one. Like you said, he's well-rounded, and he's lost to 3 losses. And I mean, Jimmy Rivera is a tough guy that he lost to. It's hard to picture any scenario where Askar gets the win. I mean, we don't know, but it's you just got to go with the UFC guy.
For sure. All right. So we're not going to keys here because we don't know too much about Askar. So we're going to go to predictions. I'm taking Cody Stamann by submission. What do you got, Breck?
I'll go Cody by TKO.
And you, Daniel?
I'll go with a TKO for Stamann in this case. It's what makes the most sense to me, just based on what these guys do.
All right. Unanimous decision on him winning. All right. Interesting. Another guy coming in here, Manel Kape versus Alexander Pantoja. Pantoja coming off a loss against, I cannot remember. Askarov. And then we have Manel Kape coming in here. Interesting matchup here. Askarov, these two guys are both quite talented. Looking at Kape, he's talented, but a nice prospect. But they wouldn't be putting him up against Pantoja if Kape was not a good fighter. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this one?
Again, interesting matchup to say the least. Manel Kape, the star boy they call him. That's a great nickname. Just to come right off the rip with it. And like you said, it's a matchup where you're not putting this guy up against somebody if you don't think they're ready. And I think that's what you're looking at here. A couple of smaller guys, obviously, fighting in this division. Both of them 5'5", fighting at 125. Not great reach, not great leg reach. It's a leg reach advantage for Manel Kape here, making his UFC debut. But he's fought a bunch in Rizin, so he's fought at a high level already. A 3-fight win streak in that regard, and he's getting matched up with Pantoja, who in the past has proven to have the ability to be an absolute killer. They call him the cannibal for a reason. He'll come after you and beat you up and bloody you. So they're trying to put some talent in this division, and Manel Kape is the kind of guy that you can do that with. And Pantoja, I think, is going to be a really stiff test for him, but it's what you need when you're trying to create new stars as quickly as the UFC is.
And Breck, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Pantoja, has a win over Brandon Moreno in 2018, and he lost the unanimous decision to, the eventual champion, Davison Figueiredo. So this guy, has fought the best of the best as we see it. And like Daniel said, Kape coming out of Rizin, that's, much better competition than maybe like an LAFC or something. But just off the, Rolodex of who Pantoja has fought, you got to go with, the veteran here.
All right. Yeah, there is stuff on Manel Kape. I think Kape really needs to pick his shots. This dude can sit your ass on the ground, for lack of a better term. If he hits you in the right spot, he hits hard for a 125er. And for Pantoja, American Top Team guy. He can do it anywhere. I think it's best he gets it on the ground, but if he wants to stand up, he's definitely in his element as well. What are your thoughts on, what are your keys, Breck?
I think this is going to be a really close fight. If you look at their records, both of them have KO'd a lot of guys and submitted a lot of guys. So they're both well-rounded fighters. And I think, whoever's jiu-jitsu or wrestling is better on the ground is probably going to eke out a victory in this one. Cause I don't really see, a first round KO in this type of matchup against two, pretty good guys. So, I'll probably go with like Pantoja with like a 30-29, a really close, split decision even maybe.
And what about you, Daniel?
I think this is going to be a really close fight as well. I think these guys match up with each other really well. I would lean Pantoja in this case, like Breck said, by decision, but I could see it going either way. Like I said before, the UFC is trying to create stars in this division. I don't think they would be putting Manel Kape in this position if they didn't think he could do that. But because of his track record, I would lean Pantoja by decision.
Breck, 30-29. That's pretty close, man.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting matchup. These guys are both old, both not doing too great. This is a cut eliminator, I'd say, but they both might get cut. Let's be honest here. Michael Johnson, he's fought pretty much everyone there is to fight in the lightweight division, and Clay Guida lost in a title eliminator against Benson Henderson 8 years or so ago. So these guys have had both ups and downs. Interesting matchup here. Breck, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, I don't see these guys being in the UFC too much longer. They've fought, the who's who of. I mean, it's pretty incredible too. We're looking at it before, like Michael Johnson is pretty steep fall off from. He beat Dustin Poirier in 2016, beaten Tony Ferguson, beaten Edson Barbosa. So he has it in his locker to win this fight. And Clay Guida is also, a high volume, good fighter, but it's a really interesting matchup between two older guys.
And Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm echoing what Breck said. These are two guys that are very much on the back ends of their career. And the fall from grace for Michael Johnson has been extreme, to say the least. I mean, like he said, wins over Poirier, Ferguson, Barbosa. But then you go back to starting with his loss to Khabib in November of 2016, and he's lost 6 of his last 8. I mean, for a guy like this that's getting into the tail end of his career, you'd like to see him have success. But honestly, you could say the same about Clay Guida. These guys have been around forever, and they're just trying to go out on a high note. And I'm honestly not sure which one of them is going to get the opportunity to do that on Saturday.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Daniel. All right, keys to the match. My keys. I think Michael Johnson obviously has to keep this on the feet. And I think if he hits Clay Guida in the head with how many fights he's fought, I think it's a knockout. But I think if Clay Guida gets to the ground, he has a very, very large advantage. But honestly, since these guys fought so much, whoever gets hit in the head first wins, loses. Breck, what are your keys to the matchup here?
Yeah, like you said, Michael Johnson wants to keep it to the feet. He has knockout power. And if he doesn't knock out Clay Guida early, I don't see, I see Guida's just taking him down and working for the submission. He's got 14 submissions in his career.
Daniel,
I see that's how the fight's going to go. I think it'll be, Johnson looking for the KO early, and then Guida, maybe submits him in the third. But
yeah,
that's about it.
Daniel, what you got, man?
I can't add much to what you guys have said. It's pretty much as simple as that. Whoever asserts their dominance early is going to win the fight. In that regard, I think Michael Johnson, I would lean his direction to finally get back on track here in some way or another and just stick Clay Guida at some point in the first 2 rounds. But it could go either way. If I'm making a prediction, I like Johnson in a TKO.
All right. Daniel made his prediction. My prediction, I think Clay Guida just grinds this one out and gets it by decision. What do you have to say, Breck?
I'll go Clay Guida, 3rd round submission.
And do both of these guys get cut after this? What do you guys think?
I mean, with the Contender Series, starting back up, I would imagine, they want to get some of that young blood in there. So I would say so.
What about you, Daniel?
I would think so as well. Maybe the winner sticks around for a little bit longer and makes the next round, but I don't find it to be too likely.
All right. To the co-main event of the evening, big stakes here in the bantamweight division. Corey Sandhagen coming off a spinning wheel kick / elbows ground and pound victory against Marlon Moraes, who has fallen from grace. And Frankie Edgar, this guy seems to be ageless, former lightweight champion, former featherweight title challenger, and now he's trying to make his name in the bantamweight division. Solid matchup here. I think this is a fight of the night contender as well. What are your thoughts on this one, Breck?
It's amazing that Frankie Edgar's still going after all the damage he's taken over the years. You think of the 3 Gray Maynard fights where he just so many fights where he got rocked, and it's his 3rd division he's fighting in, and he's going up against a killer in Corey Sandhagen, who his only loss recently is to the guy who's fighting for the title in Sterling. So like you said, this could be an unreal fight.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I would agree in that regard. At this point, Frankie Edgar's like made out of titanium. That's the only way this guy can keep going, I feel like. And he's matching up with Corey Sandhagen, who before he lost to Aljamain Sterling, we thought, was the rising star in this division. I think he still has a chance to do that. And he proved that against Marlon Moraes. But I think this is going to be a really stiff test for him because he's taking on, one of the wiliest veterans in all of mixed martial arts. So this fight's going to be insanely entertaining. I'm really excited to be able to watch it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it too. The quick striking and grappling threat of Frankie Edgar versus the same thing with Corey Sandhagen. Both they're somewhat similar, but different in the same aspects of their game. All right, 2 keys. I think Frankie Edgar should probably take this one to the ground. Corey Sandhagen has some reach advantages, and he's younger, so I think he wants to slow this pace down so he can use his old man strength. Corey Sandhagen, speed it up. Smart striking. What are your keys for the game, Daniel?
Yeah, I would agree with you completely there. The pace of this fight, I think, is what's going to decide it. If it's fast and furious from the beginning, then you've got a great chance of seeing a big win for Corey Sandhagen. If it's slow, if it's stretched out over 3 rounds, I think Frankie Edgar has a really big advantage when it goes to that point.
My man Breck, what are your keys?
Yeah, if Edgar takes him to the ground, Sandhagen's pretty good on the ground too. The only guy he lost to really was Sterling, who's a monster on the ground. So I kind of give the advantage. I don't know about advantage, but it's pretty even on both the feet and the ground. So it is a tough one to call. But I don't know. Frankie looked so good in his last fight. So did Sandhagen over. I think he beat Moraes last.
Yeah.
But I think Frankie just gotta keep up the volume strikes like he did last fight. I'm pretty sure he threw like a ton of strikes in his last fight. So if he can keep that up, it's gonna be interesting.
All right. To predictions. I'm gonna take this. This is really tough because I think Frankie Edgar is on that last hoorah type stuff. So as much as I love Corey Sandhagen, I'm gonna take Frankie Edgar by decision. What do you have to say, Daniel?
I'm with you guys. I'm split almost down the middle on this one. It's just extremely difficult to call when you've got a young up-and-comer like Corey Sandhagen trying to make a name for himself, trying to put himself in the conversation for a title shot, and he runs up against somebody like Edgar who has been beating dudes up for years and has been getting beat up for years, which is almost as big a deal at this point in somebody's career. So just a gut reaction. I want to say Corey Sandhagen because I think he has a chance to blitz Frankie Edgar at the beginning of this fight and make this a really dominating performance. So if I'm just going off my gut pick, then I'm gonna go with Corey Sandhagen with the TKO to win this fight.
All right, Breck, what's your prediction?
I hate to agree with Danny in this instance because I love Frankie Edgar, OG of the game, but I just the young guy. I agree. I think he could be too fast for Edgar, and I'll go with Sandhagen probably in decision. But I wanted to ask you guys, if Edgar wins this fight, is he like an immediate contender in the bantamweight division?
That's quite the question. Personally, I would think he's got to be in contention. I don't know if he's in line for the next shot, but he's got to be up there because even though that, like you said, this is his third division, he's obviously talented. We've seen that over
I
the
mean,
last who knows how many years, but I think he's got to be in the conversation to say the least.
do you like he has it up right now? It's like if he beats Sandhagen, who's 2. The only other guy you could say, yeah, I guess Cody would get the next shot before him.
I don't think so because he's only fought once, in the past 3 years. So I think with Frankie Edgar, unless you want to put him up against Rob Font or something,
Yeah,
I think he's next up. I genuinely do if he gets the win. I think if he does it emphatically, there's no way you can't give it to him. He's older. This is his last shot. And think about it. I think he'd be the only guy to win a belt, not like it's I'm trying to think of the word, in staggered weight classes in 135 and 155. So it's interesting. So I think there's some history to be made there. And I think Frankie Edgar would get the title shot. All right. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
No.
All right.
Good.
Cool. The main event of the evening, Alistair Overeem making his last hoorah in the UFC, trying to win that belt versus Alexander Volkov, coming off a nice body liver kick win against the man that is Walt Harris. Both these guys coming off wins against Walt Harris, but Overeem, latest win is Augusto Sakai. Overeem, legend of the game. He's an OG. Heck, he fought Chuck Liddell 20 years ago. Volkov, still trying to find his place in this division. Breck, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it's incredible that Alistair Overeem is still fighting, considering the amount of times he's been like brutally KO'd, even going back to Pride. So like he's been on his social media like this is it, like this is his final run, and it's hard not to root for Overeem in this too. Like 4 of the last 5 he's won, and he was winning the Rosenstrike fight before his face got punched off. But Volkov's so tough, man. This is really an even matchup. So it's hard to call.
And what are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
Yeah, this is a really even one. These are 2 veterans that know how to knock people out. Somebody is going to get put on their backside in this fight, and they're not going to get up right away. So it's like Breck said, a really tough call because these 2 guys know exactly what they're doing in there, and they know exactly how to put down the person across from them. It's just a matter if they get that opportunity. So I like both of these guys. I like watching both of these guys, and it's going to be really intriguing to see them actually go up against one another for once.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing to know about these guys is that both of their grappling is very underrated, I believe. So if somebody's hurt, they could take this to the ground and do some work down there. All right, to keys of the game, I think this is tough because they have the same reach. Volkov has a very long leg reach, so I think maybe keep him at bay with some front leg side kicks, but they're very similar in style, but Overeem just has the power advantage. So I think his advantage might be getting close and Muay Thai it up. Breck, what are your keys for the game?
Yeah, I was just about to say, like maybe those knees if Volkov goes to shoot, because both wrestling is pretty good for a heavyweight. So maybe those Overeem has like 5 or 6 like knee knockouts in his career. He's a really well-rounded fighter, and it's keys to the fight is like Daniel said, if he can just avoid being KO'd early and draw this out, you got to go with the guy with the more experience.
Daniel, what are your keys?
I would agree there. Both of these guys, like you said, a little bit underrated on the ground. Volkov especially, I really like the way that he wrestles. But you compare him with Overeem, and it's going to be a matter of just who is able to assert dominance early. I think that's what is going to happen in this fight. Somebody's going to take control early as far as pace goes, as far as power goes, and that's going to be the person that wins with a knockout, in my opinion.
All right, 2 predictions. I think Overeem's a man on a mission. So I'm taking him by knockout sometime in the third round. What about you, Daniel?
I'm going to agree with you. A knockout for Overeem. I don't think he's going to get a title shot. We talked about this off the air before. There's a lot of guys that he's going to have to go through, and I don't think he's got that much gas left in the tank. But if he's got it in his mind that he's going to get another title shot if he keeps winning, I'm not going to bet against him. I like him with a knockout as well.
And what about you, Breck?
I'm going to go with a Overeem decision, on points. And, I'm not going to give up the Overeem title shot dream. It's gonna happen, okay? Alistair Overeem, Stipe tapped, okay? Stipe tapped in that first fight. It's lies. Stipe is, lying. He did tap. So, I'm going Overeem here.
He clearly felt the tap. All right.
Clearly felt the tap.
Dan, did you see that tweet that I sent you yesterday?
I did.
I'll send it to you, Breck. So speaking of the cramped up heavyweight division, there are three heavyweight main events. We have this month alone. We have Overeem versus Volkov this week. And I think in 2 weeks, we got Lewis versus Blades. And then the week after that, we got Gane versus Rosenstruik. The big boys coming out here. So we got Miocic and Ngannou fighting for the title in March, but we got John Jones coming into the mix sometime in the summer, unless somebody gets absolutely decimated and we have to wait till winter. And then we got these guys fighting. Everyone in the top 7 is fighting sometime very, very soon. It's a mess, to say the least. So what are your guys' thoughts on the heavyweight division? I'll start with you, Daniel. If Ngannou wins this fight, not Ngannou, Overeem wins this fight coming up on tomorrow when this comes out, when will he get his title shot?
It's tough because if Alistair Overeem gets through Volkov, which I think he's going to get a shot at somebody ranked above him. The problem is every single fighter, if I'm correct, except for one that is ranked above him, he's lost to. He's lost to every fighter ranked above him, starting with the champion Stipe Miocic and then going down through number 4 with Derek Lewis. Other than Derek Lewis, he's lost to everybody ranked above him. I would assume that means he gets a Derek Lewis fight next, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to push him up the rankings really high, in my opinion, off a win against Alexander Volkov. It's tough for me to put him over Ngannou. You're not going to put him over Ngannou because Ngannou's already set for a title shot. But it would be really tough for me to put him ahead of Blades or Rosenstruik just because he's lost to both of those guys. So I think next you match him up with Derek Lewis. And if he beats Derek Lewis, then you give him a chance to fight for a title shot or even give him a title shot in that regard. But it's really tough for me to see him moving into that top 3 with just a win over Volkov.
And I want to mention something else too. So the loser of the heavyweight championship, if they get a win next, they get the next title shot, I think. So there's not much room for
you. Overeem did lose to Rosenstruik, and it was brutal, that KO. But I mean, if he was winning the fight up until that point, and I mean, you could argue if he beats Volkov, maybe he gets the winner of Blades and Lewis or the winner of Rosenstruik and Gane. But I don't know. I fear for Stipe. I don't know how you guys are. This is long down the road, but I fear for Stipe in this up and coming matchup. But I don't know. Don't you guys kind of think Rosenstruik and Cyril Gane are kind of like the future of the division, like the top 2 dogs that are going to be, reigning over it? Well, besides Ngannou, but those will be like the 3 guys in a couple of years.
Dan, you can go first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, without a doubt, I've been a fan of both of those guys really since they broke onto the scene. I've been kind of tracking Cyril Gane's career since even before he really made a name for himself in the UFC, because you just heard for a while these stories about, this former training partner of Ngannou who was getting his professional career started and was really starting to figure things out. And then he made his UFC debut and he looked great in that. and then he's fought a couple times since then, and he's looked good enough to be a top 10 contender already. And then you pair that up with Rosenstruik, who burst onto the scene so quickly. You take those two, you put Ngannou at the top, you've got a really strong top three moving forward into the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I have to say that I have to agree with you too. And Gane and Rosenstruik are both young heavyweights. Heavyweights don't reach their prime till 35, and I think Rosenstruik's only 32, 33. So, and Ngannou's still, I don't, maybe he's not even hit his prime, but I'm not worried about Stipe personally. Eastern European and immigrant mentality right there. But
it's true. But like, don't you think Ngannou this whole time has just been working on takedown defense leading into the Stipe fight? Because that's how Stipe just ragdolled in the first fight.
I mean, that's true, but we haven't seen it. So once he does it, I need to see it to believe it. But I'm sure he's been working on it. But Stipe's head movement's absurd. But I think we're getting too much into the future right now. I think the three of us can agree this division is a mess, especially with John Jones coming into the mix. All right, to more general discussion, news. Breck, you got any news you want to discuss?
You guys want to get into like Nate Diaz, Tony Ferguson possibly, or Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor?
Hell yes, absolutely.
I don't know about you guys, but like Tony Nate is an unbelievable fight, but unless Poirier agrees to the third Conor fight, like Conor Nate trilogy is might where the UFC looks to for Nate's next fight.
What do you think, Daniel?
I want the Tony fight. That's what I want. That's what I want to happen. That's what I need to happen. I need to see those guys go at it for 5 rounds. That needs to be a main event. I need to watch it happen because it's going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing with Nate Diaz. Tony Ferguson's just going to throw an elbow, make his face bleed, and then boom, the doctor's going to be like, nope, can't go on. So that
was ridiculous.
That's the one thing I worry about in a Nate Diaz fight with Tony Ferguson, because he's just going to bloody you up. So, but I'd pay good money to watch Diaz McGregor 3. That's the fight to make. That's the money fight to make. Put it in a put it in a stadium or something. Get some fans in there. It'll be great. I'm looking on MMA Junkie right now. Paige Van Zandt threw a punch at a throat in the face-off, so that's interesting. What are you guys' thoughts on Paige Van Zandt going to bare knuckle?
It's kind of unbelievable, just in the sense that like, is Paige Van Zandt known for her striking in MMA? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not to like disparage her. It's just you really would have thought she went to Bellator.
What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I would agree with him. Honestly, I don't think Paige Van Zandt knows what she wants to do, because she left the UFC. She goes to BKFC. She's going to give this a shot. There was an interview with her that came out today where she said she's been contacted by the WWE and has considered a run in professional wrestling when she's done with cage fighting. So I don't know. I don't think she knows what she wants to do at this point in her career. She was this hot prospect. She was this person that everybody wanted to see, and it didn't really work out. But now you look at what she's doing in BKFC. You look at the fact that she's been on Dancing with the Stars and Chopped. She's talking about the WWE. Honestly, I think she just wants to keep her name in the news and keep her face on people's TVs, no matter what it takes. And for better or for worse, it's what she's trying to pull off.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I think she's going to get pieced up tomorrow on Knucklemania. I guess Monday we can review that a little bit. McGregor came out on Instagram, I want to discuss this, saying that his Pacquiao fight messed him up. It's not an excuse, but I completely believe him. That boxing stance really killed him. And that makes me more excited because he recognizes his problems. He's probably going to go back to the karate stance. I can't wait for this third fight, and I hope it happens sometime at the end of the summer, or heck, even in May. What are your thoughts on what McGregor said? We'll start with Breck, I guess.
Yeah, I was excited to hear that, he, like you said, it's not an excuse, but like, I don't know about you guys, but I love this like zen, like calm Conor, nice Conor McGregor. It's an interesting Conor McGregor, but between him and Poirier, the third fight is really really interesting. Just because does that fight hold up the lightweight division in a sense that you could argue that Chandler after his win and Oliveira 7-fight win streak deserve a title shot, but the money that Poirier and McGregor brings in for a third fight would just be astronomical, with the series being 1-1. So like you said, I think we need that fight right as Conor's leg heals up, and like you said, Conor will revise his game plan, karate stance maybe, and we'll get a banger for a third fight.
And Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Can't disagree. I'm ready for pretty much all of that to happen. I am ready for Conor to be back. I'm ready for Conor to be the Conor that he was before, and I think that's what he's going to be, and I'm excited for it to happen.
In more news, Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather has been postponed. I don't give a crap, but I just think that's something to throw out there. Breck, you raised your eyebrows at that one, buddy.
Yeah, they did like this weird pay-per-view thing where people could buy it months out at a cheaper price, and then as closer you got to the fight, it would be the normal price. But then like people realized, like, why would I pay, like, I don't know what I'm doing in 4 months, like on that night, if I'm gonna be able to watch the pay-per-view. So supposedly it wasn't tracking well, and it's like it's just such a circus. It's like boxing is in such a good spot right now, but then you like see Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul, and you're like, it's boxing still has its problems.
Daniel, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This is the fact this fight's happening is stupid. The fact that they're delaying it is stupid. It's all stupid, and I want it to go away.
I don't blame you. And
Well
Breck, I want to ask you about this. Who wins, Jake Paul or Ben Askren?
Oh, that is such a tough question. Like, if Ben Askren loses, what it does negatively to MMA is just, it's bad. It's bad for everything. Everybody in MMA needs to, will have to reconsider their life choice. But I don't know. I mean, Jake Paul like has some boxing skills. He's athletic, and it's like Ben Askren's, putting out these boxing videos, but you just like, I'm so like, if you look at his hand speed, you're like, this is not good. Like, there's those clips. You guys see those clips like of like the gifs where it's like Ben Askren versus Damian Maia, and he's throwing like spinning back fists at like a negative speed. Like, it's like Damian Maia is like walking and he can't hit him with like a back fist. It's another one of these where it's like, can it just go away? Do we need to see this?
I mean, I just want to point out, Paul ducked both Bisping and Yoel Romero. I would have paid an exorbitant amount of money to watch Yoel Romero knock his head off. I don't really have much else. What do you guys have? Anything else you want to bring up, discuss?
I mean, there were 12 cuts in the UFC today that came out this afternoon. No huge names. Antonio Carlos Jr. that won Ultimate Fighter Brazil 3. Spike Carlisle. A victory for the Throwin podcast. Pete Barrett, Slippery Pete Barrett, has been cut from the roster after no showing our interview. So we wish no ill will towards Peter Barrett. We hope he catches on somewhere. But also, karma is real. So don't no show interviews, Pete.
Speaking of good karma, Josh Fremd has gone 3-0 since appearing on our podcast in August.
He's a dude, man. He's gonna mess some people up.
Yeah, Breck.
He already is, but he's gonna keep doing it, and he's gonna do it at a high level.
Breck, do you see the knockout that I retweeted about Josh Fremd?
Yes. During the pandemic, I was following you guys, listening time to time. And then when I saw that guy get the knockout, I was like, oh my God, that's the guy. That's the guy they interviewed.
That's the guy.
That's the guy. Speaking of interviews, Daniel, I need to talk to you. We got one tomorrow if you can make it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully James and Zalal can come through and up the Throwin Hands post-interview record to 11-9.
Throwin Hands magic, baby.
Throwin Hands magic.
Throwin Hands magic.
Peter Barrett should have come on, man. I'm telling you, maybe you would have been 1-1. It's brutal. All right, guys.
Who should Michael Chandler fight next? One last thing. I'm sorry. Who should Michael Chandler fight next?
That's a good question. Daniel and I we didn't really even talk about this. That's Gaethje. Oof, that's
violence.
That is violent. I would see. I don't pay for anything, but if they
What did you just say? I'm gonna have to report you to Dana White. What did you just say?
If
you're the streamer, are you the illegal streamer that they got?
Is Dana White watching Seneca Hall?
Are you the guy?
We got one of them. Yeah,
we got one of them.
We're watching his house. We're listening to his phone calls.
What about the other one?
There's FBI agents in his ceiling.
I want to say something about what Dana White said there. It was really smart. He said, I got one of them. And none of those streamers knew who that one was. But clearly, when they ping it off of a server in Angola, like they're not gonna catch
There's
you.
Like 20 Russian streams available every fight. Yep. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Russia.
Thank you, Mother Russia. But as for Chandler, I think Gaethje's the fight to make. I think that's. But the thing is, I think they're both above a fight night headliner, to be honest. But it's an interesting prospect. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting fight. I think it's something that you have to make a main event because I think it's gonna draw just because of the way that those guys fight. So I would think you're looking at that as being maybe a really big fight night main event rather than like a co-main on a pay-per-view. But I think it would be great either way.
Yeah, I think another fight to make for Chandler, not Chandler, but I think we didn't really talk about. I think McGregor RDA is another good fight to make. Personally, if we want to get McGregor back into the mix a little bit before he fights Poirier for the third time. Anything else, guys?
One final thing, just a little bit of a comedic note. I was traumatized on MMA Twitter today because of Ariel Helwani, who felt the need to retweet a video from 2007, which for whatever reason, the WVU Pitt football game in 2007, Matt Hughes and GSP, for some reason, announced the starting lineups on ESPN of that game. And now I blame Matt Hughes and GSP for 13-9. If you're in college football circles, you know what that means. West Virginia was a game away from going to the national championship, and they lost to like a 5-7 Pitt team in the final week of the season. And it is now I'm now of the opinion that Matt Hughes and GSP are at fault. So if anybody wants to debate me on that, feel free to. Ariel Helwani, you're a great journalist, but stop traumatizing me on my timeline. Thank you very much.
TSP reading American, football names is unbelievable.
Yeah, he was reading the starting lineup for the WVU defense.
For the Mountaineers.
You are intoxicated.
You are intoxicated. Oh, speaking of intoxicated, Dylan, I'm looking at the tweet right now that you were mentioning, Daniel. Dylan Dennis's profile picture is GSP subbing Bisping.
Hey.
Why?
They've been beefing on Twitter.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I wish Bisping would take.
I've never heard a fighter talk more than Dylan Dennis when he's got like 3 Bellator wins. It's unbelievable.
2 actually, and those 2 wins were against guys with losing records.
I know he's Conor McGregor without any of the actual fights.
He has no clout. I mean, Dylan Dennis. I think he could be very, very good, but he just doesn't have the credit to talk about that crap.
Yeah.
But what
are we talking about here? The guy's a grappling coach with a big mouth. What are we talking about? It doesn't get much bigger than that.
I mean, he's not a Renzo Gracie or anything.
No.
I think if he was a Royce or Renzo or Ryan Gracie, maybe he'd have a mouth. He'd be able to have a mouth, but I'm not exactly.
Or an Eddie Bravo type, Look into it. Look into it.
Look into it, guys. Speaking of Eddie Bravo, dang, this is a good one. We're having good banner here.
Deep.
We're having good banner here. I'm enjoying this, Breck. I think you've brought a whole new element to the podcast. And
I just, I downed like an energy drink right before we started. I think it just kicked in about 10 minutes ago.
I mean, Eddie Bravo, he's out there. I think what's his face? Theo Von put it perfectly. He's a deaf Jack Russell.
Yeah. I love. You guys ever watch though, like Eddie's 10th Planet like tournaments he has on his YouTube channel, the jiu-jitsu tournaments?
No, I haven't.
They're actually pretty interesting. They just released like one yesterday, and it's like strictly jiu-jitsu at 10th Planet Eddie's place in LA, and they have like all the like rivaling factions of 10th Planet come and like compete. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, like 10th Planet Vegas, London, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do like 10th Planet Orange County. Like it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think Eddie Bravo is a genius, but he's oh my gosh, won championship. I'm looking at Bloody Elbow, lost $100 million last year.
Ooh.
Good Lord,
that does not seem sustainable.
And they're all
I'm no economist.
I know this is like we're just going deeper into the tangent. Did you guys see that guy Rook in 1-1? In one, the guy, he's like the famed like African, those wrestlers that they have in Africa. That's I don't know the name of the sport, but it's like a form of wrestling with fighting.
Yeah.
He beat Galani. Algan Galani or whatever. If you just haven't seen it, look up his nickname is Rook. The guy is like 300 pounds of pure muscle. He's he looks scarier than Ngannou. That's it, wild.
Rook. I'm looking this.
It's not as.
I can't. Yeah. Look that up. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but, I it sounds familiar. I just can't place him.
But back to this one thing. Good Lord. In 2019, they lost $131 million. In 2018, they lost $82 million. And this past year, they lost $99 million.
Does not seem sustainable.
Yeah, like we said, we're no economists, but
I am no prognosticator. I am currently enrolled in Economics 200 at West Virginia University, but I am by no means a financial forecaster, but it does not seem like something you can pull off for a long time.
This is by no means Mad Money on CNBC, but but that's terrible because one has some killers, man.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, they got Mighty Mouse, they got Eddie Alvarez, and that TNT card that's coming in April is gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts. That's gonna be a great card, and it's gonna be huge for one. I can't wait. I can't wait for that card. That's gonna be a fantastic card. Breck, any progress?
I'm just looking 1 sec.
All right. Yeah.
Stop.
It's a great time for combat sports. I must say.
It is.
Apparently I'm just trying to fill some time while Breck finds this dude. Some MMA fighter was detained in Russia for fleeing persecution in Belarus. So, that's terrible. Ugh. Eastern Europe's a crapshoot. I'll tell you that much. But
here's his name is Omar Kane.
Omar Kane.
He fought Elaine Galani in the last one fight.
Oh.
His nickname is Rook.
Oh, Roog. Okay.
Roog. That's what it is.
I thought you said like the chest.
Senegalese.
Oh my. Good Lord. This dude is yoked.
Dude, it's like he's insane.
Let me, I'm going to share my screen so for the people on YouTube, I guess. But oh my, that's not. Wow. Joe Rogan
is unearthly.
Joe Rogan would be all over this dude going, dude, this guy's yoked. Oh my gosh, this dude's massive. We got to see an Overeem Rogue fight, I must say. If he gets better, of course. But yeah, from Cameroon, it looks like.
Senegal.
Jeez. Just dropping people on their heads.
Oh, wow. You know, I think we should probably wrap it up. It's been like an hour. It's been a fun time. This has been a good one.
Good.
Hey, Breck, you coming back Monday for the review?
Sure.
All right, same time, boys.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Well, that'll do it for us on this very long episode of Throwing Hands. Might be our longest yet, but you know what? We had some good conversation, I'd say. All right. Well, that'll do it for us here. For Breck and Daniel, peace out, everybody.